apart from the youngsters at 10 and 15, we've got guys like Dion and Imad making their first appearance. That front row plus Ruben also making their first starts of the season.
Yeah, I think 10 and 15, obviously, yeah, we didn't debate long and hard about that. I'm sure somebody will ask us about that. Yeah, Imad's a guy, he last played for the Stormers in Glasgow in 2023 as a 20 or 21-year-old. So he's a guy we've always thought just almost 2 years of constant injuries. But, he comes from the same, him and Sacha were a great halfback combination. I think he's got something special. So I'm very pleased to have him back. Obviously, Paul de Villiers is one of I think, the rising stars at open side flank in the country. But to have Dion to back him up gives us a fantastic roster. So I think generally all very positive changes. Andre, we only got a visa late, but we wanted to give Connor the run anyway, and we wanted to give him a start. So not to have, obviously, the only blow or the enforced thing from last week was the injury to Nietlin.
Cool. And then just in terms of the week, traveled on Monday night, got there Tuesday. What's the weather like? How's it been? You trained yesterday and then captains today.
Yeah, it of direct flights. I mean, I'm sure every South African team's going to report this over the while. Makes a big difference. But no, good. Whether we got it right, flying, because you can't then on the Monday can't train Tuesday. So session Wednesday, so you say, yeah, flush out session Wednesday, captains Thursday. It's unusual, but it's certainly preferable to what we have what we have before. I mean, so yeah, I don't want to complain about the travel, but we sort of didn't do captains now in the stadium. We did it prior somewhere off field, so we could do a bit more stuff that you can do in a stadium, and that was good. Ruhan probably come on, is literally joining the second, so there he is.
There we go.
Ron,
Mikey,
how are you doing?
good on you, man.
Good, man. Maybe if you can just, before we turn over to the journos, talk about the week, how it's been with the travel and getting everyone there, and how the squad's feeling ahead of this game against Scarlets.
Yeah, travel has been good. And obviously it's a, I won't say it's a disruptive week, but it's a very unique week in terms of, you're traveling in the week. So your time on field is not necessarily as much as what you have if you play Saturday. But I think the boys responded well. We just literally come from captains. It was a real good energy. Obviously having Sacha and Damien back in the team as well, so the boys responded well. I think the challenge was obviously just to sharpen up on our details, seeing that we don't have as much time on the field. So the time we had on the field was obviously the onus was on us, obviously, to know our details. So Sacha and Gaza could slot in so much easier, So the boys are in good spirit. I think we're really excited for tomorrow evening. So yeah, it's been good so far.
Nice one. All right, guys. Nathan has had his hand up from the very start, so let's give him a chance. Yes, Nathan.
Thank you, Mike. Good day, gentlemen. Dobbo, you've wasted no time in including your Bok players in Sacha and Gaza straight from Bok due to last weekend, straight in the starting 15.
Yeah, look, they were in the UK anyway. We were coming here. They wanted to. We had a couple of Zooms with them over the last few weeks to work out their program for the season, because I think we always want to. Obviously, there's mandatory rest, but we always want to exceed that. We want them to be fresh and happy, and they were actually genuinely keen. They genuinely wanted to stay on and play. So I wasn't going to say no to that. We will pay for it somewhere later on in terms of giving them. Yeah, they'll miss another couple of URC games just to make sure they get a nice long break. I think it's also important for these guys when they get the break to have a proper break rather than just piecemeal breaks. A week goes quickly, but if they know they've got a nice block, let's say in February or March, that they can look forward to, and obviously some game management by us until then, and they were happy. So they were keen to play, and I think it's nice. I mean, they've just come from a massive occasion, a massive win, and it's sort of almost nice. I think it feels a bit to them like they're home. Also, we're in Wales, off the beaten track here. There's not a lot of hype or requests on their time, or people. It's almost like they're going back to normal, and I think it's nice for them. So we're super chuffed with both their attitude and just to have them. Yeah.
Staying on the topic of the box, Kobus, any update on him, Reinach, when we could see him potentially don the blue and white hoops?
Like, I think his wife, he needed to hang some pictures. He just moved to Cape Town, and he hadn't been home. If you work it out from when he left Montpellier, he'd been in camp literally the whole time. So he will join us at some stage on the tour, whether it's the next week or the week after. But he literally wanted to get home for a bit, which we're good with. So his break program will look a bit different to Sacha and Damien's, but he'll join us on the tour. I think Nath definitely for Benetton. I'll chat to him, after tomorrow night and see what he feels about next week. But definitely Benetton.
Sure, Ruhan, I saw on a podcast this week, Dobson speaking highly of your captaincy. How have you enjoyed the role of captaining the Stormer side this season?
Yeah, it's a massive honor. When I was younger, I always used to say that I don't think I'll ever be a captain. I just play with too much emotion. My heart's on my sleeve. So it's been an absolute great experience. So it's obviously something that I think a lot of people dream about. To lead out their team one day, and especially a team like the Stormers. So it's been good. And I actually said to Norman Laker yesterday on the field that I'm actually quite surprised, because ever since I stepped into this role, I almost feel like I've been forced to be a bit more calmer, a bit more level-headed on the field, which is good, obviously, for my game as well. So not that I say I ever feel out of control, but you're much more aware, your fingers much more on the pulse of the game. So it's I actually feel it's been doing me good, and obviously you've got great leaders around you as well that's been helping you. So I guess just really privileged and an honor to be in this position.
Awesome. Then final one, if I may, guys. So, W went with 6-2 split. Judging from the open side flankers that are in the 23, does this give an indication how you want to play, getting quick ball, and what you might be expecting from Scarlets and possibly slowing down their ball?
I think we're a team that's always, I think that's a good point. I think we're a team that's always gone 6-2, except when we've had sort of doubts. And then, as I said to you guys, the first week we just had no other fit backs. We haven't got a plethora of fit backs. Dan is injured. One day, beg your pardon, Warwick is still injured. But so we haven't got much. I mean, the only other back here at the moment who's on tour with us, Clinton Swart's got visa issues, is JC Mars. So, but 6-2 is who we are. And I think you're right. I think slowing down opposition ball, that's why, we looked at a lot of stats. We last year were the fastest breakdown ball in the competition. And that's often, excuse me, due to your 12, where Ruhan is today, and 6 doing that work on the early breakdowns. So that and slowing down opposition ball. And I think we've seen in the first two games that our packs managed to sort of wear down the opposition quite effectively. And I think to have 14 forwards is useful in that task, in that you've only got two guys going 80 minutes. It just gives you a bit more power, grunt, I reckon, towards the back end of games.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan. Leeton, go for it.
Hi, Mikey. Thanks. Hi, Dobbo. Hi, Ru.
Hi, Lex.
Dobbo, I'll be the guy about that 10-15 question.
Yeah.
Look, Wandy's been absolutely wonderful at 15 for you guys. Gaza had a brilliant game for the box at 12 and then moved back. Was there temptation to do that, Sash, Gaza 12 dingers, or was it straight Wandy needs to be back at 13?
Well, I think the first thing was Dan Duff was he probably shouldn't have played last week, but we were really thin, so he needed once Dan was unavailable. I suppose you could have put I see your question. You could have put Damien in at 12. Now we felt that with especially against Leinster when they go to 50, Wandy still. The backfield is still a developing thing is a developing thing for him at fullback. I think that we were not lucky because it came through our doing. Against Leinster, we disrupted their sort of both their scrum and their line out, and they couldn't get into the kicking cycles where I think we could have been under pressure in the backfield. So we didn't want to run. Whereas Damien is absolutely superb and a massive leadership. I don't think Wandy. I think our team's used to both Warwick and Damien really loud from the back and seeing the space and that. So we don't get that with Wandy yet. I think the progress he's made staggering. So it just seemed to us better with that configuration with Damien for the kick space. These Scarlets kick more than the URC average. They kick a lot of ball, and I just think that confidence and Wandy is still naturally a 13, and Ruhan's done bloody well at 12. I think. Somebody on the phone to me, one of our owners was saying to me on the phone today, one of the big things of this season also has been Ruhan's come back off such a long-term injury in that form, and we played the one game at 12 for us. So so good. I think it's a really good center combination. As much as we've got Ruhan and Dan, I think Dan and Ruhan, sorry, 12, 13. Ruhan and Wendy also very, very good. So
And then the changes you made up front, it cuts both ways. You put in a lot more if I can call them gevestigde Stormers players. It's much more, but you are also changing up a forward pack that has been working the last couple of weeks in certain positions. Is that sort of a concern for you?
Um, oh, look, Netling was a blow, but Sazi is a really aggressive, sometimes too aggressive tight head. So, I don't think we'll sacrifice. And I think that was a bit of, we had no choice on the tight head side. Ali, you're right. But, Vern's, Ali's a, yeah, he just continues to deliver. And Vern's got really good, probably more than Ali just by virtue of age, really, really good general movement. So I think, when you end up with that front row, they can all scrum, Zach, Andre Hugo, and Vern. But when the game's probably we looked at the games the last couple of years, and they've gone deep here in Gleneagles. So having that sort of general movement was some of the thinking. And then so that's probably the only where we've gone sort of really conservative. Dion is just coming back from a long-term injury, and Paul needed a start after last week.
And then just you spoke about attacking the breakdown, but Marinus on their side, he's
Yes,
been a thorn in your
yes.
flesh in the past. Have you made
Yeah.
provisions for that?
Yeah, look, last week we had a major breakdown threat, so it was good preparation. And the Ospreys, I think, are the best we've come across. And that was without Jack Morgan. No, Manus, we've talked about that. There are two ways, one of which is how we behave at the breakdown, and the second is where we have the breakdowns or how many we have. And we've got some plans around that. But no, we acknowledge he's a really good player. Defensively, carries well, very good player.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers.
Actually, it's Ken Borland is next. Yes, Ken.
Thanks, Michael. Hi, John. Hi, Ron.
Hey, Ken.
John, for you, how pleased are you? How ideal is it that in your first two games of the season, two good wins, but also two almost different styles of winning, if you like? I mean, you played very differently against Leinster as you did at Ospreys, and on both occasions managed to win those games.
Yeah, I think what probably the pleasing thing about us was if you'd said to us a few months ago, the one thing we said we wanted was to have Warwick on the field because, he's a really good, we were without Marnie for obvious reasons, Damien, Sacha in those first two games. And you'd say, you've got Yuri Mattia at 10 and Wandisile Simelane at 15. To put our game model under pressure, and we're going to have to work and really wind up our sleeves and do the hard yards. And I think that's what Ruhan and the team did over these first two games. I agree, there's a slight difference in styles, but I would have thought those were, our game model. We're such a obviously transition-based team that put opposition under pressure and create chaos and thrive in that chaos. And we didn't have those players who normally did. Is really, really pleasing for me that the team had an amazing work ethic around the performances without ever really hitting our straps. So that was it's pleasing that we did it without our sort of game model champions, that was pleasing.
Cool. Happiness, Ken. And lastly, we got Johan. Yes, Johan.
Hi, Coach. Just want to double check. You mentioned a few visa problems. Is there a chance those guys might join later?
Yeah. Sorry, there's a platoon flying in on into Italy. A couple of guys who, Ollie Kebble, for example, didn't get his visa. There's some Clinton if he comes, and then a couple of the injury returnees. I know Salman's back. Warwick, who else is there? Is it five? Am I wrong? I don't know. There's somebody else who's also coming back. So yeah, those guys are coming into Italy.
With the guys who had visa problems, who are they then? You mentioned some
Clinton Swart, Ollie Kebble, Andre Smith, and there was a staff, one of the physios. I might have one wrong, but Andre came in today. It's not visa problems with the visa. It's guys who have full passports, or Ollie Kebble only joined us very, very late. Clinton obviously only joined us very, very late. So it took a while because you got to get both Schengen and UK. And yeah, so that's why we ran a bit of time.
Cool. Happiness, Johan. Leeds, and you got your hand up again.
Yeah. Ru, just for you, please, what are you expecting from the deal at Parky Scarlets, and what have you prepared for in terms of what the Scarlets will bring for you guys?
Yeah, obviously, look, it's a quality side that they put out there. We saw this side, so I think it'll be more or less the same as what it was last week. Like obviously there's a breakdown threat, like we just mentioned, to disrupt our ball, and obviously I wouldn't be surprised if they have one or two plans to try and I reckon almost to hawk Sacha and Gaza in a bit. So the team that kicked the most, so obviously we'll have possession. I guess it's on us to make smart decisions when we have the ball as well. So definitely expecting a nice physical battle there, hence our 6-2 split, so we can match that, if not dominate that, which is the plan. So the boys are definitely prepped. I think the Welsh teams are really, really good with disrupting ball, slowing down your ball. So it'll be a scrappy thing as well. So I guess that's why we're so happy about our first two results. The way that we won both last week as well. It was a scrappy win. Sometimes you just have to win ugly. So the team is under no illusion that physically we'll have to get stuck into those guys. So it's great to have Sacha and Warwick, like Dobson said, controlling things, controlling the kicking game. There's a lot of experience there for us, but these things start somewhere, and obviously that'll start at the breakdowns for us at the first contact. Yeah, we definitely up for it tomorrow night.
And then just this game could set the tone for your tour, and like you now said, this could be a scrappy game. You take a scrappy win anytime as you head over to Italy for those two matches.
Yeah, definitely. Look, we're planning it to be nice and physical. I think, typical Stormers rugby would love to throw the ball around. It's what the people of the Western Cape want to see, So, but definitely, we're looking to make it the most successful Stormers tour yet. We want to go 3 from 3. So, there's certain things that have to be in place. Like I said last week before we played the Scarlets, that even if you got a 6-2 split, and you got all these ballers at the back, so, these things start somewhere. So if the set pieces functioning properly, the lineups are properly functioning, scrums, our breakdowns are quick, opportunities automatically come with that. So if we're a little bit sloppier on those things, we can't get into a natural flow. So like I just said, the big focus is on us carrying into the ball, the breakdown being solid for us, the kick returns being solid, and through that we'll get our opportunities actually to open them up. So up until that point, it's just nice and physical, knuckling down and doing the dirty work.
Tabo, and just lastly for you, touching on what Ru said now, this is probably your best chance of hitting a run in your opening games, looking at how everything is laid out for you guys.
Yeah, yeah. I say yes. I feel like I'm being, sort of over some hubris, but no, it is. I mean we've got Scarlets who look. We've talked about it. They've taken us down deep, deep, deep. Both the games we played up here, including one earlier this year. But it is let's add that, and I just know from past experience we've had poor starts. URC 1 and 3. And then good starts. So poor starts 1 and 4, 2 and 3 reasonable starts. And the difference it makes to the camp, to your style of rugby, to even the communication, the selection policy, the bravery. Just you don't feel like there's a knife against your throat. So we want to get as good a start as possible. We want to try and make this the most successful Stormers, like Ruhan said, the most successful Stormers tour. So it makes tomorrow night very important, But and the guys tease me because I say this is our most important game. But in a league of this, which is such a marathon, and having seen with it, games like every game is important if you want to be, because you have to be hosting playoffs. We've learned that. Just look at even forget about playoffs. Look at last year. I know there were 2 games postponed, or the 2. Every single other one was won by the home team. So to get into that home playoff, you have to win away games, and we know our touring record. So it's a really, really important to us to make a statement. I think we get it right tomorrow night. We get a lot of confidence from it, and that takes us into Zebra, which will be a good place to be.
Thank you, Ella.
Thanks
Cool.
a lot.
Thanks, Leeds. Guys, tomorrow night we'll, I think, do a voice note rather